In this podcast clip, Dimitri Panici explains how he creates content for brands and social media.
One thing I want to talk about is how you create the content that you have. Because in
Sure.
like when
Yeah.
I interview people on like how they create the content, it's like, oh, I get my ideas here, I get my titles here, I make the thumbnails like this, I film it like this, the editing is just done, simply. But in your case, it's going to be a little different because you're not the person that just does all of them. You are mainly the manager that essentially like manages everything
Yeah.
that goes on with the brands. So how does a video creation process look like? Like from A to Z, from coming up with an idea, gathering all the ideas together, filming, maybe batch filming. How do you come up with the titles and the thumbnails? Do you even look at the thumbnails that people, do for you? How is the editing process?
That's a good question, actually.
Like, how does
So
that content creation process look for you?
I think I'm going to do two things. First, I'm going to explain what it used to be like when I actually did everything, and then I'm going
Okay.
to go to the current thing because I think both are very valuable. So if you want to get a lot of work done content-wise, I would probably try to follow this method. I would do a lot of batch work. Like I do batch recording, I do batch editing, and I do batch thumbnails. What does that mean? I would get ideas constantly and just been like ideation mode. If you're consuming content in the space a lot, like you really can just come up with ideas constantly. Just go on productivity YouTube if you're a productivity YouTuber, go on fitness YouTube if you're a fitness YouTuber, just find the stuff, right? Like just find it and then jot it out in like a notes tab. And then that's your list of content you're gonna create. And then make a whole day out of recording everything, right? And then once you make a whole day out of recording everything, you have, let's say a month's worth of recording done. And then, make a day or a week out of editing everything. And then from there, do the same thing with thumbnails, do the same thing with scheduling. If you follow a 4-week structure like that and do that for a month prior to starting whatever content channel you're doing, you're always going to have a backlog of work and you're always going to be like 2 weeks to a month ahead. Um, So I got 6 weeks ahead on content once prior to going on a 6-week vacation, or I got 8 weeks ahead prior to going on a 6-week like retreat where I essentially just like lived with some of my older roommates and got away from like my home, and like worked in the summer in Chicago. It was fun, and I did that by doing a lot of batch work, so that was great. Like I self-taught editing when I was younger. I self-taught audio, thumbnails. They're always is a little worse than anybody who's managed to edit it for me. So I am not like a huge thumbnail guy, but I've learned. And then I would just schedule stuff on YouTube and like just keep bumping it out. So that was pretty much it. Like I constantly jot on ideas, which I still do. I consistently am just like, ooh, I see this thing on, this thing I'm gonna write. Oh, Evernote made an update on this thing, and Todoist made an update on this. Let me jump into. And then from there, I would essentially just delegate that same thing over time to people. So like now I just have ideas and I'll do a huge batch recording session. Like now it's a lot easier to get ahead on work. When you get to the point of delegating, I can record videos for an entire day and then I'm done for a month. Or like,
Yeah.
it's not a day, it's an exaggeration because I post less than I did. I post 3 days a week instead of daily. But I can record. It's actually, yeah. I mean, I could record 15 videos in a day since it's my job now, and then I'll just ideate for another month, and randomly here and there I'll record some videos. And
If there's an
if I see
urgent
another,
update.
yeah. The weird thing is, and this is something that you got to get ahead of if you're delegating the work, is make sure whatever templates and like branding and stuff you have is in a like cohesive place for like your Premiere Pro and stuff. Because what's really hard is when an update came out on an app, I was never able to edit something myself. So I finally centralized all the assets and had it in a downloadable zip file for all my editors. And now, if an update comes out, I can use all the nice little motion graphics and stuff and make a video in an hour if I need to for an update, which I hadn't edited a video in 2 years.
Fuck.
And I had edited like 400 of my first videos, right? So it was really weird. But I finally edited one. Last Sunday's video that just came out was actually me, and I was like, oh, I did well. That's cute, you know.
Still got it.
But yeah, still got big. No, but what I do now is I essentially will record videos. I have a lead editor who manages the editing team, another manager who manages the other part of the editing team.
How many people do you have that are working for you now?
I only have really like 2 people on salary. The rest of them are essentially
Freelancers.
contractors. There's a fair amount of contractors. It's essentially like a capacity thing. Something that I would recommend to anyone doing this is just pay people as contractors first, and then if they become consistently good, then you can salary them. But what I do is that main manager now kind of gives feedback on the edits, because I gave him my edits and gave him feedback for a year, so he knows how I think now. And then he eventually trained another person on how to think about this.
Yeah.
So now we have 2 people who can give feedback on the edits, right? And they also are helping with thumbnail descriptions and telling people how to do thumbnails. I'm looking for a designer. I'm getting to the point where I need like a design lead, someone who can essentially be a manager for the thumbnailers. Because they're all contractors too. And essentially, yeah, I'll just record and then it gets delegated. But the reason I need all those people, by the way, just for context of the audience, is I have a content services agency where essentially we're a post-production team for SaaS companies. So if you have a tutorial you want to make, a lot of the times it's kind of hard to make it look pretty, and you don't have people in-house. Luckily for you, we can make long videos, we can make short videos, we can turn it into social media posts, for it to grow your socials. And I've just been building that team out for the last year, and it's been a good experience. But that's why I have so many different people. Originally, there was just me and one editor. That was enough. Like, I had an editor who was doing great work. His name's Vinny. He's been best
A friend of mine as well.
Yeah. I'm a great fan of him as well. It's a good experience finding the right editor. And if you do find a good editor, treat him well. And that's kind of the crux of it, because that's going to be the most amount of time that's going to take up if you're doing visual work on YouTube.
Check out Agent Gold AI for game-changing AI tools for YouTubers.